Hey guys, welcome to another video. We're going to be doing the, it's going to be a first one in the series for the Bluetooth module that we're going to be doing. As promised in the last video, I told you guys that I'd probably be doing another scribing a PCB board method, and I'll show you guys how that's done. What I've done is I'm going to be doing the toner transfer method is what it's called. Sorry, I just bumped the camera there. This camera has a tendency of wiggling around when stuff comes in and out of focus, so I don't know what that is. I'm gonna have to figure that out. Hopefully we'll get a new camera here before too long, so we won't have to deal with that. So I'm sorry, you just have to bear with it moving around. I don't know why it does that. That's just weird. Anyway, what I've done is I've taken some gloss photo paper. Okay, that's all you need, and get the cheapest stuff you can find. You know, go to your local, I don't know, drugstore or whatever and get just the cheapest paper you can find, okay? And what we want is we want to print out your circuit, which, as you can see here, I've taken basically the footprint of it. I put some resistors and stuff on board, so I can put a onboard voltage regulator on it, as well as some other things. But this is our basic footprint for the for that Bluetooth module, and I'm bringing all the pins out to some 1/10 inch headers is what that's ultimately going to be. So that's the pads for the headers to go in, so that way you can push it into a breadboard. Okay, so I've printed the circuit in reverse. It is actually mirrored, so that way when we flip it over and put it down onto the copper, it will it'll be then the right direction. So you always want to print this mirrored. See if there's a setting on your PC. I know if you're using EagleCAD, which is what I used to design this, there is an option. You can choose a mirrored option in your print settings when you're ready to print your board layout. So that's what I've done. Okay. I've also found just a scrap piece of PCB that I'm going to be using. It's kind of dirty. Let's see. This is driving me nuts. See if I zoom out. Hey, there we go. Maybe it's something to do with the zoom. It's not wiggling around. Okay. So I know that it's zoomed out. It's kind of hard to deal with if it's zoomed out, so I'll hold things up. But I've just got a piece of blank dual layer PCB. For this particular one, you could do single layer. It's going to be fine because I don't have any dual layer on this. I got everything to work on the one layer, so I really don't need both layers. But hey, it's scrap. It's what I have laying around. So first thing we need to do is see how crummy this is. This stuff has been laying in my garage and whatnot. Plus, copper oxidizes. So as the copper oxidizes, it's going to, get kind of a dark kind of layer of gunk on it, which is the oxidation layer. We need to get that off because our toner, what's going to happen in the toner transfer method is we're going to place this on top of the copper and then heat it up, which will cause the toner to stick to the copper and not the paper. And then that way we'll end up removing the paper, and the toner traces and everything will actually remain on the copper. Well, in order to do that, we need to clean this up a little bit. Oops. So what I'm going to do is I've got basically a Brillo pad, just one of those kind of Scotch pads or whatever that's pretty rough. And I've also got some, maybe I'll cover up the deal, some acetone. Okay, so I've got some good old acetone, which we're going to use to do that. Be very careful. That's right. It is danger. Be very careful with acetone. Do not have any soldering irons or anything around it. It is extremely, and I mean extremely, flammable. I mean, one spark sets this stuff off. So you want to be very careful when working with acetone. All right. So before we get going, we're going to take and we'll just go ahead and start cleaning this up a little bit. Hopefully, I don't rattle too much. But see how it just comes right off. You see it starting to get shiny again. So that's all we got to do. We just got to take and rub this and get all this off and make it back shiny again, which doesn't take very long, especially for a piece of this size. It's not very big. But we'll just kind of rub it and change sides with your Brillo pad or whatever you have that you're using that's rough. You could even use a very light sandpaper. I would probably say something in the 120 grit region, because you don't want to cut massive grooves into this, you know, you just want to just kind of rough it back up and get any gunk off of it that could be on the surface of it. Now me, I've got my good old air compressor with me, so I'm just going to kind of blow this off. Okay, so I'm going to blow the excess stuff off of it. And now to make sure that I get all of the stuff off of it, I'm going to use the good old acetone. Now, word to the wise, when working with acetone, it's not exactly the greatest thing to be touching it with your bare fingers. So I recommend you go by your local drugstore and just pick up some gloves, just some latex gloves, and they even have non-latex gloves for those of you that may have latex allergies. Just go ahead and pick up a little box of these gloves. They're not expensive, and that way you just make sure and be as safe as you possibly can. Just because, like I said, it's not real great for this stuff to come in contact with your skin. It does absorb through your skin, and it's just all around not that great. That's why most nail polishes anymore are acetone free, is because it's not real great to be touching with your hands. Well, now that we're all got some gloves on, got some protection, we're going to go ahead and wipe some acetone on. I've just got an old oil rag is what I have. Works just fine. So we'll go ahead and we'll pop the top on this. All you got to do is just dampen it. Just a quick dab like that will dampen it. In fact, I can even feel it came through it. So get it all wet and just give it a lick. Wipe that all over it. Make sure and do this in a well ventilated area. I'm in my garage and I've got the doors open and whatnot. Make sure and do this in a ventilated area because you really don't want to be breathing acetone either. So acetone's some fun stuff. There's some more chemicals that go along with this. So make sure that if you're doing this PCB etching, you're going to be doing this in a good, proper ventilated area. Okay, so go out in your garage and open up the garage door and everything and make sure that some air can get to you because you don't want to be breathing the fumes on a lot of these chemicals. So now I'm going to hit it with kind of the dry side and just kind of dry it off. Okay, so we've prepped it. It's ready to go. Next thing we need to do is we're going to iron it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the iron. So I'm going to stop the video right here and I'm going to switch up the setup a little bit, get an iron out here, and we'll be right back. Okay. Okay, guys. All right, we're back, and I got the old iron set up. What you want to do is you want to take an iron. You want to dump any water that's in it out of it, which I did not do. So I'm going to do that right now. I got me kind of a bowl over here. So I'm just going to dump this out because you don't want any steam, okay? No steam at all. So turn the steam setting off. If your iron has a steam setting, turn that off. Definitely don't want any steam coming out of this guy because that will just completely ruin the process. So no steam. Just want it set up, no water whatsoever. You don't want to squirt any water. And then what you're going to do is you're going to set it on the highest setting possible, which mine looks like it's linen. Linen is the highest setting possible. You want it to be as hot as it possibly can get. Now I've had mine on for a while, and mine's the kind where it's got a little indicator light that tells you when it's ready, and so it is ready. It has gone off. It is nice and flaming hot. And so what I'm going to do is you're now going to take this and you're going to put it on top. I've already flipped my paper over and put my paper onto the side that we cleaned up and smoothed down. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on it and I'm going to push down. You're going to push down pretty hard and just kind of move it around, okay? Just going to move it around and push very, very, very hard. Okay. Now, I mean, you don't want to push so hard that you bust your iron. You know, don't be crazy with it. But I mean, you'll put a fair amount of pressure on it. Okay, and just iron it. You know, just kind of move it around back and forth. And what we're doing by doing this is we're simulating what the printer does. The printer takes paper. If those of you don't know, but toner printers will take paper and it using a laser writes basically the message or whatever you're putting, picture, whatever it is, onto the paper with a laser by ways of heat. It heats up the sections of the paper that need the toner on it. Then it rolls through the toner. The toner then sticks to those hot spots, and then it runs it through a final stage of heat rollers that's in the back. Haven't you ever noticed that that's why the paper coming out of a laser printer is hot, whereas when it comes out of an inkjet printer, it's not hot, and it's because an inkjet just sprays ink on the page, whereas a toner printer will actually put, it's kind of like a small, it's like plastic almost. It's kind of a graphite plastic mix is what toner is, and it has to melt it to the page. And so it melts it by running it through those heat rollers. So it puts quite a bit of pressure on the paper as well as heat. And so that's what we're wanting to do now, is we're wanting to put a lot of heat and pressure on our PCB. And as you can see, I'm pushing down pretty hard. So just heat and pressure. You don't have to do this for very long. You can probably time this video or look at the time on the video from when I started to see how long I do it. But you don't need to do this very long, maybe a couple minutes or so, a couple 3 minutes or whatnot. So that's probably good. I've done it for a while now, and I've been pushing down pretty hard. So now what I need to do, doggone it, which I haven't done, is I need to get a cup of water. So what I'm going to do, I may have to pause the video. Well, we can do it this way. What we need to do is we need to get a cup of water. So I'm going to go over here. You guys can listen to me walk over here, because I got the microphone on today, so carry that over here. Get me a little deal of water, because what we need to do now is we need to dissolve the paper off, which the best way to dissolve paper is in water. So I'm going to get me a little bit of water over here, fill me up a little pan of water, because what's going to happen is I'm going to set this in this water, and then it's going to dissolve the paper away. Of course, this is a great bucket of dirty water, so you'll have to excuse it, but there we go, some water. That's all I had. Didn't really set up for this. This was kind of an off-the-cuff idea. I just decided tonight, you know what, I'm going to scribe that board. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick that in the water. We'll let that sit off to the side, and we're going to let it sit for a couple of minutes. So I'll probably go ahead and pause the video here. I'll wait till it gets good and soggy, and then we'll come back. Okay? So we'll be back in a minute. Okay, guys, it's been about a minute or so, a minute or two. So what we'll do is, what you want to do is you want to peel off the first layer. So what we're going to do, we'll get basically our first layer of paper off. So you don't want to be too crazy with it, but we just want to rip the first layer of paper off. Now there's still a lot of paper on there. I'm just going to dunk it in our deal and soak it again for, I don't know, 30 seconds to a minute. I don't know if I'll pause the video for this one, so I'm just going to kind of sit tight, and we'll just kind of wait for that to happen. So anyway, so what's going to happen, I'll explain what's going to happen next, is we're going to get all that paper off. That paper is going to get all soggy, and it's going to start to flake off, and we'll rub all that paper off of it, okay? And when we get all the paper off of it, the toner is going to be left behind, which that is what we're going to use as our what's called Etch Resist, okay? So let me run over here. I think I have enough cord, and grab the Etchant Solution. I'll describe that to you while we're waiting for this to get soggy. What I've been using is, you can get from your local electronics store, but is a Pcb Etchant Solution. What this is, I don't know if it says, yeah, this is ferric chloride, okay? Now, this stuff, again, it's just like the acetone. You want to use this in a well-ventilated area. Make sure and put some sort of protection on your hands. You don't want to be touching this with your bare skin. Maybe even wear some eye protection, so you don't avoid splashing it in your face, because you really don't want to get this stuff on you. This is a pretty reactive solution, so you got to be very careful when using it. So in fact, it even tells you harmful if swallowed, you know, keep out of reach of children, so on and so forth. So yeah, if you ever have this in your house, definitely keep it away from little ones if you have little ones. Like me, I keep mine out here in the garage up on a real high shelf where no one can get to it. So you want to keep some of this around. We'll be using that here in a minute. And what I do is I take and put it in a little bowl is what I do. Let's see. I put it in those of us here in the States, we've got, I don't know if they sell this stuff but just in a little Tupperware container, which I just use a Tupperware container. And like I said, I keep it up high as well. So you can tell I've etched some PCBs in this piece of Gladware. But I just keep it in this little guy. You can snap the cap on, and it keeps it away from keeps it from spilling and everything else. So it's a good little deal to have. So that's our That's our Etchant Solution. Okay, let's check on, and yes, it will turn everything yellowy, nasty color. So be careful, make sure and wear old clothes if you're going to be working on this and all that stuff, because it is messy. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my fingers. I'm just going to kind of peel. See that? Just kind of rub the PCB and rub that rest of it off. Now dunk it in the water, kind of rinse it off. Get some more, and we'll just rub it. Okay? Rub, 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 rub. It gets all of it off. Isn't that neat? Isn't that cool? I don't know. Just to me, I'm just like, I'm amazed by that. It just blows me away how cool, how very good that works. I mean, you guys basically just sat here. I mean, I fast forwarded past the waiting periods, but you guys just basically watched me do this. So, living proof that it does work. See, look at that. Look at that. It's transferred onto the copper. How cool is that? Now I'm going to dry it off. Get a towel here. Dry this off. Now, make sure that you don't use the towel that you used, that you put the etchant or the acetone on with, because that'll be a bad deal. It'll wipe the toner off. So what you want to do is you want to kind of inspect it. Like there's a spot that could potentially be a problem. I don't know if you guys can see that. What you can do, I don't know if I have one out here. I may have one. Is you can, to touch that up, if it looks like it's going to be a problem, you can use a marker. See if I have one available. I'm going to look through my stuff here real quick. I don't know if I have one. If not, I can always fix it on the, it's such a small little nick. It may go ahead and etch fine, but then again, if it doesn't, I can always just blob solder across and touch it up. Like I said, these boards, I can't find one. These boards are, this is just a simple kind of get you by. If you want a professional quality board, you need to have, a professional quality company make it. So it may or may not be a problem. The main thing I want is the pad. I want to make sure all the pads look good, which they do. Any trace problems or whatever, I can always, do bonding wire or whatever, whatever it takes to make that work. So let's get rid of this water. Okay. So now comes actually the easy and longest part. It is going to take probably close to about 20 minutes to etch this board. Okay. So I know it's kind of a pain. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up this dirty, nasty thing of ferric chloride. And I've already got some in there. I'm probably going to touch it up because I've done a few boards in here. What will happen is you have to change out the ferric chloride every so often because, see, it's absorbing copper. That's how it works. It's actually a chemical reaction with the copper, and it breaks down the copper that it comes in contact with. So as long as it touches copper, it's going to absorb it, essentially. And so it's kind of like an acid for copper. And so it's going to do that everywhere but where the toner is on the board. So that's how you have what's called an etch resist. And so that way it'll eat away all the copper everywhere else, but leave the copper that's underneath the toner, which is the traces and everything that we need. So all you got to do is you just got to place it in there. Okay. I put the lid back on just so I don't spill. But what you have to do is you have to keep it moving, because what will happen is the liquid that's around the copper will absorb copper until it's saturated, and then it won't absorb any more copper. So what you need to do is jostle it so that liquid moves around and it disperses the copper through the whole liquid, and you get fresh etchant over and over to keep washing over the top of it. So what I do is I usually take a rag or something, because sometimes these Gladwares can leak. Put it down. Of course, I'm out here on my bench, so I really don't care. And then I just tip it. And I just get it rocking back and forth. And that's all you got to do is just sit here and rock it back and forth for about 20 minutes or so. Just as long as you're agitating it, you're going to be good to go. So I usually turn on the TV, sit back, maybe drink a beer, have some time to yourself, and just sit here and rock your PCB just like a baby. Just rock it back and forth. And every so often I'll pop the top on it and look at it and see how it's doing, and it'll etch slowly. Some areas may etch faster than others. You'll be able to tell when you're looking at it. You'll start to see the green FR4 start to come through after a while. So just let it do its thing. You just got to tip it back and forth. And like I said, this whole process is probably going to take about 20 minutes. So we'll we'll stop the camera, and I'll just go ahead and etch this board out, and we'll come back, and you'll get to see the finished product. Okay, guys, I have finished etching our board here. So I'll get you to take a look at it. There's still a few little flakes of copper that are around, but for me, I'm not trying to do this pretty. I'm just trying to get it over with. So I left them. There's nothing that's actually bridging any gaps or doing anything funny. So yeah, looks like all the other copper is gone. The back, you can see where it was trying to etch the back off, but I really don't care about it. There's nothing on it, so I'm going to leave that copper. So basically, it looks like it has been etched. What we're going to do now, stuff out of the way, is we're going to use some more acetone. And what that's going to do is we're going to remove the toner with the acetone. That's why I told you before that be careful with your acetone when you're don't use the same rag that you used acetone with to wipe it off with when you're done taking the paper off of it, because it will remove the toner. That's exactly what we're going to do now. Here comes the reveal. You just wipe around on it, and the copper shows right up. Look at that. All right. I'll hold it up here in a second, show you guys. This is when you can really see what's going on. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the back. Just make it, just to clean it up a little bit. The front's really our main focus. So, all right. Put that up. Look at that. Look at that. Isn't that cool? See, there's that one little guy. He did have a little bit of a problem, but that's okay. That's nothing that solder can't take care of. And same thing over here. Looks like we got a nick taken out of it. Like I said, this isn't a perfect process, but hey, it gets the job done. It gets the main parts put down. You can touch it up a little bit with a soldering iron, some bonding wire, whatever you want to mess with. But more or less, it gives you a pretty good, basically proto board, essentially. This process gives you a good proto board just to play around with stuff. And that's like, oh, there's some of those that the hole didn't get completely etched out. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm going to drill a hole in it anyway, so I really don't care, So it looks pretty awesome. Looks like it came out quite well. So I'm happy with it. All right, guys, that's how you etch a PCB using the toner transfer method. Stay tuned for the other video where we actually will solder that down. Now all I have to do is just basically drill all these holes. So I'm just going to take a drill bit that is roughly the size of that. I don't know. I'll go through my bits and see which one goes through, and I'll just punch all those little holes, and then we'll get to soldering this guy up. So take care, guys. In the next video you'll see, I'll probably have this all assembled and ready to go for us to proto with. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Like, subscribe, share, and all that fun stuff. If you haven't followed me yet on Twitter, go ahead and check me out over there. I do post things here and there whenever I get time, and I also retweet a lot of cool stuff that I see. I follow a lot of other places, and that's kind of how I stay up on technology and whatnot, as I watch other people, follow them, subscribe to other channels. So check me out on Twitter. I retweet a lot of things, as well as send some funny things, as well as some good information. So take care, guys. We'll see you next time.